Very good morning to all. This section is to introduce the physics syllabus. Here is your paper 1. Your first paper is named as Mechanics, Oscillations and Properties of Matter. In physics, mechanics means the studies related to the rest condition or movement of a particle subject to an external or internal force. The first topic we have to discuss in your first unit is coordinate systems. So, generally, we are considering three main coordinate systems in three dimension. First one is Cartesian coordinate system. Here we are using x, y and z to denote the coordinates. And using these coordinates, we can explain the position of an object in a space. Second one is cylindrical coordinate system. Here we are using r, theta and z as the coordinates. And third one is spherical coordinate system. We are using r, theta and phi as the coordinates. And we have to study the relation between these three coordinate systems. Next comes the frame of references. A coordinate system attached to a rigid body. We describe the position of any particle relating to it. Then such coordinate systems are called frame of reference. So this frame of reference can be classified into two: inertial frame of reference and non-inertial frame of reference. So inertial frame of reference is one in which Newton's laws of inertia holds good. Okay. So what is Newton's laws of motion? So three laws are there mainly. So first one was the law of inertia, in which the law of inertia states that a body continues in its state of rest or uniform motion unless it is compelled by an external force. And the second law, the law of force, which states that the time rate of change of momentum is proportional to the applied force. Okay, so it can be F is equal to dt by dt, where F is your external force and T is your momentum. And thus, what is third law? Maybe you are very much familiar with the third law. That is, for every action, there will be always an equal and opposite reaction. Okay. So, inertial frame of reference means the frame of reference in which all these laws are good, or it obey all these laws. So, the frame of reference which is moving with a constant velocity, or if it is in a rest condition, then we can say that it can be an inertial frame of reference. Next comes your non-inertial frame of reference. Non-inertial frame of references are mostly moving with an acceleration, or it will be a rotating frame of reference. So, in which these Newton's laws will not hold correctly. Okay. Such frame of reference are called non-inertial frame of references. Next, we are discussing with uniformly rotating frame. A frame of reference which is rotating with a uniform velocity with respect to one of its axes is called uniformly rotating frame. So, for example, we can consider a coordinate system of x, y, z. So, here we are considering a plane of x, y, and we are considering it is rotating with respect to the z axis. So, we can say it is a rotating frame. The Coriolis force, centrifugal force and all such forces are arising due to this rotation of the frame of reference. You have to go through its applications also. So, if you are considering Earth, actually Earth is a rotating body. So, it's a perfect example of rotating frame of reference. So, we have to study the forces and its effects based on the rotation of Earth. Then comes the motion under a central force. So, how a particle moving if there is a central force? Those studies are coming in this section. And next topic is Kepler's law. Actually, in exam point of view, it is a very important topic. So, you have to give more attention to this section. And mainly three laws are there. First one, law of elliptical orbit. Second one, law of areas. And third one, harmonic law. So Kepler's laws are describing the motion of planets in orbit. So see, first one is the law of elliptical orbit, which states that every planet moves in an elliptical orbit around the sun being at one of the foci. Okay. That means every planet is rotating around the sun in an elliptical orbit. See, if you consider an ellipse, it will have two foci points. So we have to place sun at one of its foci, and your planet is revolving around the sun in an elliptical orbit. Second one, law of areas. The radius vector drawn from sun to the planet sweeps out equal area in equal time. The area velocity of the radius vector is constant. That is your law of areas, which means it have to sweep out equal area in equal interval of time, right? So, in equal interval of time, if it have to keep equal area, you just assume the ellipse structure and see when the earth comes close to the sun. Sun is at one of the foci, right? So when the earth comes close to the sun, it will move fast. And when it is very far away from the sun, it will acquire a lower velocity. Okay. So that it can kept out at equal area in equal interval of time. Third one is the harmonic law. The square of the period of revolution of the planet around the sun is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis of the ellipse. Simply we can say t square is proportional to a cube, where t is the time taken by the planet to complete one revolution and a is the length of your semi-major axis. Okay, these are the three laws of Kepler, and we have to discuss its derivation, and detailed studies are also there that we will discuss in our next classes. Next comes the center of mass. So, center of mass means if you are considering any matter subject or any physical object, there will be a particular point in every object where this entire mass of the subject is concentrating. That particular point is called center of mass. Next, we have to consider the frame of reference with respect to the lab, with respect to the center of mass where we are considering or where we are placing this frame of reference. So, lab frame means your frame of reference is outside, entirely outside your subject. So, your subject can be placed somewhere in the frame, and we can discuss its positions and how it is moving, all those things. Next is the center of mass frame. In this case, we are placing your reference system in the object itself. Okay. And one more condition is that the origin of the center of mass frame should be at the center of mass point of that object. And from that point, we are discussing its position and how it is moving and all those things. Okay. Next is the motion of particles. I mean, we are considering a system of particles, and due to subject to some external forces, it is moving. So, if two or more subjects is moving, there is a possibility of collision. And when we are considering collision, it can be made in two types. Mainly in two types. First one is elastic collision. Second one, inelastic collision. In elastic collision, we have to keep in mind that your total energy and total momentum of the system is remain constant. That means the total energy of the system before the collision and total energy of the system after the collision will be same. And same as in the case of momentum. Before the collision and after the collision, the momentum will be same. But if you are considering inelastic collision, the total momentum of the system before and after the collision will remain constant or will remain conserved, but your energy will not remain constant. That means after the collision, there will be some decrease or increase in your energy. That means it can lose or gain the energy. So we have to discuss the collision of particles in one dimension and two dimension. And in this case, we have to find out the scattering angle of the object. So scattering angle means the angle between the incident and scattered direction of the particle. That means initially the particle was moving in x direction, and after the collision maybe it will move a 60 or 90 degree away from the x-axis. So what will be your scattering angle? It is the angle between your x-axis and the current position. Okay, there will be an angle. If it is 60 degree, it can be 50 or 70 or whatever it is. So we have to find out that scattering angle, and it will provide you the direction of the particle after the collision. Next, we are talking about some conservation. Conservation of energy, conservation of linear momentum, conservation of angular momentum. Conservation means we can assume that it is almost equal to the constant. I mean, your energy is conserved means your energy is remaining constant even before the process or after the process. So we are considering a system which is undergoing some sort of work or any process, and the energy before the work and after the work remain the constant. Maybe it can change the form. See, if you are considering, for example, if you are considering a Carnot engine, before the system, it will have some sort of heat energy, and after the process, maybe we are getting some output. So your energy, what you have given, is now converted to some another form of mechanical work. Okay. So the energy can be the same theory. The energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can change from one form to another. Same in the case of linear and angular momentum. Before and after the process, there can be, it will remain constant. Linear momentum means it is P, which is equal to mass into velocity, and your angular momentum is L, capital L, which is equal to R cross P. And the difference between linear and angular momentum is linear momentum we are considering in a plane particle which is moving in one dimension or two dimension. In angular momentum, the particle will have some rotating effect. Okay, a rotating body we are considering this angular momentum. I think those all topics are there in your first unit, and hope you get the syllabus clearly, and you will get more details when you are going through the chapter or when we are discussing these things in your class. And that's all for today. Thank you.